The government's new defense recruitment scheme, Agnipath, there's been a lot of talk about it. There's been a lot of protests and politics also over it. There's also been a lot of misinformation. Unfortunately, in the era of social media, WhatsApp groups, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all used to also put out a lot of rumors. It's also used to spread a lot of fake news. One comment suddenly becomes the gospel truth. So here on India Today, we're using our social media platforms to also set the record straight, give you some of the details, the facts about the Agnipath scheme. If you're an aspiring Agnivir, watch this very, very closely, because we're putting out some of the facts that the government has reiterated even as these protests rage on. The first and most important point, one of the biggest concerns, is that there's a lot of uncertainty over the future of Agnivirs. The government has said that's simply not true. There's no question of their future being insecure. So what's the solution there? Well, there are a number of aspects that need to be considered. The government has said that if there's an Agnivir who's a budding entrepreneur who wants to be an entrepreneur, there will be a financial package. There'll be a bank loan scheme also provided to them. If someone wants to get a job, if they're aspiring to just follow up and get a job, there will be avenues created in the Central Armed Police Forces, in the state police as well, and other avenues is also something that's being discussed, because you've got the Mahindra Group chairperson Anand Mahindra also, who took to social media to say that they will welcome Agnivirs into the group, and I'm sure many other corporates will also follow suit. If you want to study further after in fact being an Agnivir, that's something again that the government will help you with, because they'll give you a certificate up to class 12 as well as a bridging course. So the government has said there's no question of an uncertain future. Now, another aspect, another concern that's been flagged off is about lack of opportunities for the youth now in the forces because of the Agnipath scheme. The government has said, again, not true. Don't follow or don't believe that there'll be a lack of opportunities. They're saying, in fact, that in the coming years, there'll be 3 times more recruitment of youngsters in the armed forces. It's not going to dwindle down. It's only going to grow substantially. So that means more avenues, more opportunities for youngsters, for army aspirants, to enter into the armed forces. Another concern that I've been reading about a lot on social media with regards to the Agnipath scheme is about a lack of experience, and the fact that perhaps people and youngsters will not be mature enough to be serving in the armed forces. The government has said that's simply not true. Take any country, for example. They're saying most countries in the world, if you look at their army, if you look at their security forces, it comprises of dedicated, passionate youngsters. So this logic and this debate that youngsters are immature, they can't serve in the armed forces, is simply not true. They're saying you look at most countries, it's always young, agile youngsters who are serving in the armed forces. Another interesting argument that's come up on this, and a concern that's been flagged off, that's been debated on social media, is that these youngsters, these Agnivirs, after in fact passing out of the forces, what will happen to them? Will they join terror groups? The Indian Army, our forces, have completely rejected this, saying that's against the ethos of what they stand for, that anyone who dons the uniform is inculcated with such values that there's no question of them resorting to terror or taking up arms for any other means that's against what the country stands for. So I hope you found this video informative. Keep tracking us here on because we verify and put out all facts you need to know about Don't fall for whatever is put out on social media without checking out all the details first.